Hi, my name is Winston and I'm a 17-year-old entrepreneur and VR game developer. As the youngest presenter here, I'm very honored to be able to speak to you all at this year's Games for Change. Today, I will be talking about the MetaVerse, which is best described as a shared virtual space and how I believe multiplayer VR gaming will play an important role in the creation of the internet's next evolution. Many universities and companies such as Facebook, Microsoft, and others believe that VR will one day become a mainstream technology that will fundamentally transform society. A sentiment that I have also shared since I was first introduced to VR and became the youngest VR game developer for a Silicon Valley company where I launched my first game at age 13. The last decade has seen a major shift in the way we all interact with each other through the internet and social media. I believe in the next decade we will see even more of a dramatic shift to a new version of the internet that links us to a virtual world, being the MetaVerse. If you have seen Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One, you will have some idea of how this MetaVerse world could be. We are still many years away from anything so universal, but it will happen in increments. Multiplayer games like my own are a step in that direction, as they provide an environment where people can get together and play and compete in several game modes like Battle Royale, or just enjoy their surroundings and interact with each other. Most importantly though, is that if we hope to get to the MetaVerse, we must make the virtual environments as realistic as possible. Our brains can fairly quickly adapt to a new environment if it is consistent with the way we process sight, sound, physics, and movement. I would like to talk about some of the things that are key to developing and experiencing a virtual world and how these features are applicable to any type of virtual world. There are many aspects to the realism of a game, not just the graphical clarity. More background aspects of the game, such as the sound effects or the physics, are just as important as the visual quality of the game. If one of these aspects don't match up closely enough with the way our brain expects them to function, it will take away from the immersion. One of the most important goals of my game is to make it truly feel like you are in a different world with other people. In order to do this, a lot of time had to be spent on smaller details that bring the game to life. For example, I wanted the player in the game to fully represent a human and mimic the movements that your real self is making. This requires not only high quality character models, but also for the characters to move and animate accurately to how the real person is moving in the physical space. There are several aspects that go into the realism of the character. The main aspect of this is the motion tracking and representation of the character's limbs. What makes this difficult is that there's only 3 points of tracking on the average VR setup: the headset and 2 hand controllers. This means to animate the neck, shoulders, body, legs, and arms properly, lots of calculations need to be done in real time to know where the certain joints should be, and then smoothly move those joints into position. This allows for a much deeper level of interaction and immersion than what most current games do, having no body and separated floating hands. The legs are also aided by animation states, as there is no tracking data for the lower body. The legs move in different ways depending on the character's height and velocity, and for example, if a player lies down on the ground, the character in the game will also reflect this and lie down, switching to a whole new set of animations where the character is now crawling on the ground rather than standing upright. People in the world are also different heights, and that height gets reflected in virtual reality. So this means that I also had to integrate a system which allowed people to calibrate their height in the game so that their character would be taller or shorter accordingly. Other smaller details of the character also require lots of attention, such as the character's eyes and mouth. Since eye tracking is not present on most headsets nowadays, a system in my game will randomly control the movements and blinking of the eyes, as well as animate the mouths of the characters when the player speaks. One of the most important parts of turning the world into a shared environment, though, is that all of these details need to be synced over the network and represented fully on other clients. The way the character moves needs to be portrayed in the same way to all other clients so that there isn't any disconnect between different players. Audio is the last major aspect of realism in the virtual world. If a sound doesn't match up with what you expect to hear, or a sound is missing when you expect to hear one, it will take you out of the immersion. Even smaller details to sound effects, like how it reverbs based on where you are, inside a building or outside in an open valley, are important to realism. The loudness of sounds also need to be calibrated in 3D space so that you hear them at the right audio level at the right distances, depending on what sound is playing. The presence of 3D sound is also vital to not only realism, but also being able to detect where sounds are coming from. In the real world, your ears hear sounds differently depending on where the sound is coming from, as it resonates differently in your left and right ears. In my game, sound gets these minor alterations so that even though you are just wearing headphones, you're able to sense where sound is coming from in the virtual space. Now that I have covered some of the main aspects of realism in a virtual world, hopefully it has helped you understand the technical aspects that go into creating a realistic environment and the detail that has to be reflected in VR. Through this, I hope that you're able to see how this kind of multiplayer VR game can be a platform extended to many other industries. The same movements, physics, sounds, and networking can all be applied to areas like education, finance, healthcare, sports, concerts, and infinitely many more. Ultimately leading to a world which has everything we have today and more in the metaverse. For example, in March of this year when my high school and many others closed down to COVID-19 and we all had to shift to online learning from home, I had the idea of having classes in virtual reality where we could interact with each other just as we did at physical school. I was also able to quickly take my concurrent code of my game and within a few hours create a prototype of this digital VR classroom where we could be represented by our avatars. Also, back in 2018, I developed one of the first viable use cases for the wealth management industry for a VR fintech platform called Orion Island. My prototype won finalist in the Orion Advisor Services, a firm that manages $1 trillion in assets under advisement, and also won top 5 semifinalists in the 2019 Scratchworks fintech competition. Now, as a gamer myself, it is my hope that people will enjoy playing my game as a competitive battle royale where they can play alone or team up with others. However, I also think people will enjoy the game through just exploring the world with their friends and socializing in different environments and game modes, such as scavenger hunt or hide and seek. However, I think it should be clear that it is the multiplayer capability that is the key element to expanding the reach of virtual reality. I can use the same technology to create virtual college campuses where students and teachers can meet and interact and move freely around the college campus. I could create sports arenas with luxury boxes for people to get together to watch live sports events. I can even create virtual business rooms for meetings with clients, medical centers where you can go for virtual consultations, shops with outfits that you can try on your avatar before you actually buy it. This is how the metaverse will evolve as it becomes more and more routine to shift back and forth from the real world to the virtual world. This will be a huge change. For example, think of 2 major issues today: the coronavirus and race relations. Clearly, the virtual world is disease-free. You can interact with anyone with no worries about social distancing or disease transmission. The virtual world is also race, age, and sex blind. If you are an avatar, you can only be judged on who you are, your personality, and your actions, not on the color of your skin, how you look physically, or your economic background. It puts everyone on a level playing field. I also believe that the virtual world will help democratize many things, including education. In the virtual world, students will be able to attend classes with the best teachers from anywhere in the world. Imagine if everyone could receive an Ivy League education, or if new teachers taught very specialized skills not traditionally taught in schools, much like how I have learned all of my game development from the internet. The metaverse is coming. I've been fortunate enough to do a talk at the World Bank with Dr. Vince Cerf, who is one of the co-developers of the internet. I would not be speaking to you in this virtual format today, or have been able to learn or do as much as I have without the internet. The metaverse builds on that beginning, and I hope to play a vital role in that change. Games for Change, thank you so much for having me.